Hello, fellow seekers of peace and depth. Today, we're taking another step forward in our journey to self-understanding. Have you ever felt like life is a whirlwind of emotions, constantly swirling with anxiety and stress? If so, you're not alone. Emotions are an integral part of being human, but if left unchecked, they can cloud our minds and take us away from what's truly important. In this talk, we'll explore a practical approach to dealing with strong emotion. We'll talk about how to stay calm in difficult situations, how to stop letting emotions rule your life, and why anxiety often stems from wanting things that are out of our control. I'll be sharing with you concepts from Stoic philosophy, like apathy, inner peace, and how these ideas can help us live a more peaceful life, no matter what life throws at us. And feel free to share your thoughts. If you have any questions or would like to discuss them further, please leave a comment below. I'd love to hear from you, and maybe we can learn more from each other. If you find this sharing useful, please subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our videos. These small actions are completely free, but they help us a lot in bringing you more valuable content. Thank you. So let's get started. Let's start with the Stoics' secret weapon, calmness. It sounds simple, but it's one of the most powerful expressions of strength you can have. In a world where aggression, competition, and ambition are so highly valued, staying calm can feel a little strange. Many people may think, what good will it do to stay calm? I'll just be overwhelmed by others. But here's the truth. Calmness is true strength. To the Stoics, calmness shows that you have self-control, while anger shows that you are weak. Anger is not strength. In fact, it's just a loss of control. When you're angry, you're letting your emotions take you in directions you don't want to go. And then, have you ever said or done something in anger that you later regret? This often ruins good relationships, throws work off track, and even affects your health. The ancient Stoics understood this well. Seneca, a famous philosopher, once said that anger is like acid. It not only harms others but also destroys you. Anger not only hurts you mentally, it also causes fatigue and physical weakness. You can lose sleep and appetite and then feel exhausted. On the contrary, a Stoic always strives for a state called apathy, which means maintaining inner peace, not easily shaken by anything happening outside. But anger has a trap that is very difficult to escape. We have all fallen into it. Someone has hurt you or something has gone wrong, and immediately, anger flares up. It is a natural reaction. But if you let it control you, you will easily make mistakes. Just like when you are angry with someone, you may say something hurtful that you later wish you had kept quiet. In fact, true power lies in calmness. Stoics believe that only when you stay calm can you think clearly and act properly. Calmness is not suppression, but the ability to use emotions in a beneficial way. When you are calm, you can handle things more skillfully and effectively. Here is a simple example. Suppose you are in an argument with someone. You feel very angry. The blood is rushing to your face and your heart is beating faster. At that time, it is very easy to say hurtful words to the other person. But instead of letting your emotions overwhelm you, you stop for a moment, take a deep breath, and try to stay calm. You listen, speak softly, and try to find a solution. What is the result? The argument probably doesn't get worse, and you feel much better afterward. Practicing calmness is not easy, but it is necessary. You need patience, and more importantly, you need to understand yourself. But once you master this skill, you will find yourself getting into less pointless arguments, less caught up in negative emotions. Instead, you will have better relationships, achieve your goals more easily, and live a happier life. Now let's try to connect all of these and see how they can help you achieve peace even with a chaotic mind. Once you understand the importance of staying calm and learning how to control your emotions, you will find that life becomes much more pleasant. Anger will no longer keep you up at night. Unnecessary worries will no longer stress you out. Instead, you will be able to face any situation with a clear mind and calm demeanor. To continue, we need to talk about regulating your emotion. Have you ever ridden a wild horse? That horse is your emotion. They can be powerful, but they are also very difficult to control. If you don't know how to tame them, they will throw you to the ground. But if you hold on to the reins, they will take you safely to your destination. Speaking of controlling your emotions, the first thing you need to do is to be aware of them. Simply, you need to know what you are feeling. Maybe it's anger, anxiety, or sadness. Acknowledge those feelings. There's nothing wrong with feeling that way. It's a natural part of being human. But if you don't recognize how you're feeling, your emotions will control you. It's like letting a wild horse run wild without a rein. It will take you out of control. Once you know what you're feeling, it's easier to regulate it. Once you're aware of your emotions, the next step is to observe them. Detach yourself from the emotion and look at it from a distance. Like looking at a storm from the outside, instead of in the middle of it. When you do this, you'll see more clearly. The emotion is no longer the whole thing, it's just a temporary part of it. Next, challenge your thoughts. This means asking yourself, is this emotion really true? Is it worth it? For example, you might be worrying about something that hasn't happened yet. Ask yourself, is this really going to happen? Or when you're angry, ask, is this anger helping me? Sometimes, just thinking back, you'll see that things aren't as bad as you thought. Ultimately, you have to choose how you react. This is where you decide what to do with your emotions. Will you let your anger control your actions? Will you let your anxiety hold you back? Or will you use your reason to control them? This is the difference between letting your emotions control you and controlling your emotions. Controlling your emotions is not about suppressing them. It's about knowing what you're feeling, understanding them, reflecting on them, and then choosing the right response. Like holding the reins of a horse, you'll guide your emotions in the right direction. In our daily lives, we often get caught up in our thoughts, worries, and feelings of not being able to control everything around us. These are the times when our minds become chaotic, filled with worries and fears about the future, about things we cannot control. This is the source of much insecurity and suffering in life. Now, think about something. When your mind is dominated by anxiety, do you find yourself becoming unstable, stressed, and disoriented? Yes, anxiety is one of the biggest causes of chaos in our minds. We worry about work, about relationships, about health, and even things that we cannot do anything about. Therefore, if we want to find peace in a chaotic mind, first thing we need to do is learn to cope with and reduce these worries. According to Stoic philosophy, one of the root causes of anxiety is the desire for things that are beyond our control. When we want things to go our way but cannot control them, anxiety begins to arise. For example, you worry about what other people think of you. This is something you cannot control, and it is the desire for acceptance and recognition from others that puts you in a state of stress and insecurity. So how can we get out of this vicious cycle? Stoic philosophy suggests that the most effective way is to reframe our desires, focusing on what we can control. Stop and think, what is really within your control? It is how you react to situations, how you manage your time, how you take care of your health. When you focus on these things, you will find yourself no longer caught up in worrying about things you cannot change. Another way to combat anxiety is to practice gratitude. Instead of worrying about what you don't have or can't control, focus on what you do have. Gratitude not only reduces anxiety, but it also gives you a more positive outlook on life. When you are grateful for the small but precious things in life, such as your health, family, and friends, you will feel lighter and less anxious. In short, if you want to find peace in a chaotic mind, start by adjusting your desires. Accept that there are things that are beyond our control, and instead focus on what you can do to improve your life. At the same time, practice gratitude. Keep your mind focused on the positive. When you do this, you will see that peace is not something that is too far away, but is the result of learning to live in harmony with yourself and the world around you. You know, after talking about how to fight anxiety, I want to share with you another secret. It is how to master your emotions. Key factor that helps you maintain peace even when everything around you is chaotic. It sounds complicated, but it is actually very simple. In Stoic philosophy, there is a concept called apatha. This is a state of calm, not letting yourself get caught up in negative emotions or unforeseen events. See, this doesn't mean we have to become emotionless. It's not. In fact, it's a way for you to keep your mind steady, not to be disturbed by what's happening around you. Bet you've experienced that. You're on your way to work, and you suddenly get stuck in traffic. Normally, you'd be upset, right? But if instead you stay calm, thinking that the traffic is not within your control, what can you do with that time? Listen to an audiobook or your favorite podcast. See, with just a little change in your thinking, you've turned an unpleasant situation into an opportunity to relax. Or imagine you're at work and a coworker drives you crazy. What would be the natural reaction? Probably anger, right? But if you stay calm and choose to face the problem rationally, you will not only avoid unnecessary stress, but also maintain good relationships with those around you. You see, practicing apatha is actually simpler than you think. Start with small things. First, when an emotion flares up, try to recognize it immediately. For example, when you feel frustrated because you have to wait too long in a long line, instead of letting your anger take over, you can stop for a moment and say to yourself, "I am frustrated, but I will not let it control me." Next, when you have recognized that emotion, take a step back and observe it. Don't let it sweep you away, like you are watching a movie. For example, when you are worried about an important meeting coming up, ask yourself, is this worry helping me? Is there another way to look at the problem? Finally, don't forget to restructure your thoughts. Just think about it this way. Instead of letting negative thoughts dominate, focus on the values that you cherish. If you value honesty, keep it even in the face of difficulty. This will not only help you keep your mind steady, but also make better decisions. In short, apatha is not something far-fetched. It is about keeping your mind stable, not being swept away by external fluctuations. So, start with small, everyday situations. When you practice regularly, you will realize that you can maintain peace no matter how many fluctuations in life. Have you ever found yourself getting into an argument and looking back, wondering, why did I waste my time on that? If so, you are not alone. We often get caught up in pointless conflicts, battles that don't actually add value to our lives. This reminds me of an important principle of Stoic philosophy: conflict selection. This sounds strange, right? We tend to think that we need to confront everything, fight over every little thing. But if you take a moment to think about it, you'll see that not every conflict is worth your energy. The Stoics understood this very well. They weren't cowards who avoided conflict. They were simply selective about the battles they fought. Why? Because they knew that life had enough truly important struggles to face. So why waste energy on the ones that weren't? I've also been caught in a spiral of unnecessary arguments. Once, I spent hours arguing with a friend about a trivial matter. I realized later that we had wasted time on an argument that was going nowhere, and that it had damaged our relationship. From that, I learned an important lesson. You don't always have to fight. Sometimes, keeping your mind at peace and staying away from pointless conflicts can bring you freedom and serenity. Inner peace is a precious treasure, and to protect it, you need to know when to stop and when to move on. The Stoics always remind us that focusing on what we can control and avoiding drama is the way to keep inner peace. Indeed, if you are always caught up in things that do not matter, your life will become chaotic and out of control. Next, let's delve deeper into something we all experience: fear. Fear often appears unexpectedly, stops us, and sometimes stops us from moving forward. But the Stoics have a great approach to fear. They face it with courage and reason. First, try to clearly identify your fear. Maybe it is the fear of failure, fear of rejection, or the fear of facing new challenges. I remember one time, before giving a presentation in front of a large crowd, I felt extremely nervous. My palms were sweaty, my heart was pounding, and my mind was filled with negative thoughts. But then I stopped and asked myself, where does this fear come from? Why am I so afraid? And when I looked at it objectively, I realized that fear is just the result of uncontrolled thoughts. The Stoics taught us something important. Challenge your fear, question it, and look it straight in the eye. Instead of letting fear rule you, use reason to analyze it. For example, if you're afraid of failure, ask yourself, what is the worst that can happen? Can I handle it? Often, when we face our fear rationally, we will see that it is not as scary as we thought. And at that moment, you will realize that you are completely capable of overcoming it. Try this. Instead of thinking about how you might fail, focus on how you will succeed. I know it sounds simple, but it really works. By visualizing positive outcomes, you are reprogramming your mind to focus on success instead of failure. I tried this when I was faced with an important project. First, I was nervous, but then I started visualizing myself completing the project successfully, and this helped me focus on what needed to be done instead of worrying about what could go wrong. Now, I want to move on to another aspect of emotional mastery: managing anger and negative emotions. We often hear that venting anger is good, that when you are angry, you should say it, yell, or do anything to release your anger. This is not always true. The Stoics realized that venting anger can not only not help solve the problem, but sometimes make the situation worse. Let me tell you a story. I was once very angry with a colleague because of a small mistake at work. In my anger, I sent a rather harsh email, and immediately I felt better. But then, when things calmed down, I realized that not only did that action not help solve the problem, but also made our relationship more tense. From there, I learned that when you let your emotions control you, you often do things that you later regret. What do the Stoics advise us to do? Instead of venting anger, observe your emotions mindfully. When you feel anger rising, stop for a moment, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, what am I feeling? What triggered this emotion? When you do this, you create distance between yourself and the negative emotion, giving you time to think before you act. And it works. Imagine, when you are faced with a stressful situation at work, instead of reacting immediately, you pause, observe your emotions, and choose how to respond intentionally. This not only helps you avoid impulsive decisions, but also helps you maintain respect and peace in your relationships with others. Finally, remember that mastering your emotions is not an overnight process. It is a lifelong journey, and every day we can learn and improve a little more. The Stoics understood that we cannot completely control what happens around us, but we can control how we react to it. And this is what will help us maintain peace of mind, even when the world around us is in turmoil. Start small. Be selective about the conflicts you engage in. Face your fears with courage and reason, and control your anger by mindfully observing your emotions. Gradually, you will find that, by applying these Stoic principles, your life will become more serene, peaceful, and fulfilling than ever before. So are you ready to try it? I believe that, with patience and regular practice, you will soon realize the difference these principles bring to your life. Thank you for watching the video. See you next video.